All right, we're going to go over the answers for chapters 6 through 10 of Stone Fox. I'm going to start with the vocabulary for chapter 6. One of the vocabulary words was amateurs. Amateurs means you're not a professional. Amateurs usually means somebody who does something, you don't get paid for it either. Once you become a professional, you're no longer considered amateur, you get paid for it. Amateur can also mean just somebody who's beginning something, but in this story, an amateur is somebody who's not professional. They're just doing it for fun, for enjoyment. Moccasins are a type of shoes made out of usually animal skin. Legends mean stories that are passed down. They are usually verbally passed down, and they tell of either great heroes, stories that people keep in mind to remember the past and great things that have happened. Legends can also be the people in the story. And then your target word was tilted. Tilted means crooked, like you can tilt a table, so one end higher than the other, and then of course the opposite would be flat. All right, chapter 6, questions. Do you believe that grandfather would agree with what Willie is trying to do? In other words, little Willie is going to take his college money and enter a race to win enough money to pay their taxes. And I'll let you decide if you believe grandfather would agree or not. And you'll get a clue to this at the end of the story in chapter 9. How does little Willie pay for his entrance fee for the race? Well, he takes his college money out of the bank and uses that. Number 7, Willie feels strong and good until he sees something at the end of the street. Describe what he sees. Well, for the first time he sees Stone Fox, a very large Indian, and his team of sled dogs. And he would have heard about Stone Fox. Number 8, why doesn't Stone Fox speak to anyone? Stone Fox is upset at most white people because they have taken the land from his people. So he just never speaks to anybody. And number 9, what is Stone Fox's dream for his people? His dream for his people is to get back their land. So he goes around entering all these sled dog races for money. He wins the money, and he hasn't lost a race yet. He wins the money, and then he buys back land. So he's buying back land for his people who have been displaced from their land. All right, we go to the vocabulary for chapter 7. Deserted, left all alone. Rooting, cheering. Treacherous, dangerous. Massive means large, huge. And your target word, target word was massive. Massive is huge, large. The opposite would be tiny, small. Okay, chapter 7, questions. Why does Willie go into town the evening before the race? To get medicine for grandfather. Then, in this chapter, you notice that he goes in and looks at Stone Fox's dogs, and then what important understanding takes place between Stone Fox and little Willie? Well, they're racing for the same reason. They're both racing for land. Willie's trying to save his farm, and he loves the land and his country, and Stone Fox is also trying to raise money to get back the land for his people. And this is the important understanding that takes place between them then, is that they both can't win. They're racing for the same thing. For the first time, Stone Fox is racing against somebody who's not doing it for the glory or just for the money for something frivolous, but the same reason he's racing, and they both can't win the race. Question 4, why do little Willie and Searchlight have an uncomfortable night before the race? Well, little Willie doesn't sleep well because he went in to look at Stone Fox's dogs, and Stone Fox didn't know what he was doing there, and he bammed little Willie, and he gave little Willie a black eye. And in the book, it says if little Willie can't sleep, then Searchlight can't sleep also. All right, chapter 8, vocabulary. Wait a minute. Yep. Chapter 8, vocabulary. Clenched, hold tightly. Abrupt halt, that means to come to a sudden stop. Tension, nervousness, anxiousness. It's not the kind of tension like if you have a string and you're holding it tight. It's the kind of tension you can feel in people when things are tense, when you're anxious and you're nervous about something. And then the target word was jagged. Jagged would be, like that. A jagged bolt of lightning going through the sky. So crooked, uneven. And so the opposite of jagged then would be straight and smooth. All right. Chapter 8, questions. What are the thoughts running through Little Willie's mind on the morning of the race as he rides into town? Well, he's thinking about how much he loves the land and the animals, and he's looking at all these things and just thinking all about that. He's just concentrating on that. He's not really thinking about the race so much, but just that how much he loves the land and the animals. And 6, what surprises Willie when he gets to town is there's crowds of people filling the main street there to watch the race. And 7, Little Willie notices that Stone Fox's eyes seem to lack the sparkle that Little Willie had seen the night before. Explain any reasons you might think for this change. What I think is that for the first time again, Stone Fox is not sure about this race because he's racing against somebody who he feels is a worthy opponent. Somebody who's racing for the same reason that he is, and winning won't be quite as sweet to him this time. And 8, explain why the people of the town seem so tense. Well, it's because one of their own is in the race, and he's racing for his land. He's racing to keep his farm, and they're very tense because Stone Fox has never lost a race. And so they're sure Little Willie has no chance. In fact, they're so sure nobody bet on him. Everybody bet on Stone Fox to win. But on one hand, they're rooting for Little Willie. They even tell him that, but they don't think he stands a chance. They don't know what Little Willie's been doing all these times. And there's something else that Little Willie can do that other people can't, which we'll get to. And number 9, how does the race begin? At what time? The race begins at 10 o'clock. And it begins when the Mayor Smiley, I believe, holds up a pistol, shoots the pistol into the air. And it begins. All right, chapter 9, vocabulary. I'm going to pause and make sure this is still taping because it's turned off before. Let's double check. Yes, we're still taping. That's excellent. All right, chapter